Now, we have one last finishing touch that we have to make before we can start cutting out these cupcakes and assembling them to look like real cupcakes. We have our tops, we have our cups, we have our shading. The only thing that's missing is the cherries for on top. So for this final phase of our drawing of our cupcakes, you are going to need one piece of dark pink, I guess you might call it, colored paper, which you will get from the supply area, a pencil, red watercolor crayon from the watercolor crayon boxes at the supply desk, and one white oil pastel. You will also find this at the supply desk. So let's get started.
So just like we drew one large cup, one medium cup, and one small cup, and then we made a large frosting and a medium frosting and a small frosting, you've probably gathered by now that we are going to need one large cherry, one medium cherry, and one small cherry. I'm going to keep my tops nearby just so that I can make sure that my cherries are going to be an appropriate size. On this pink paper, you've got plenty of space to draw 3 cherries. Obviously, it's just going to be a circle. I want a big one, and I'm just going to kind of put that nearby and just kind of visualize and see how it will look up there, and I think that will fit nicely. So now I need a medium size and a small. So I know my medium is going to be a little smaller than my big one, but not too tiny. Good, that's a little bit smaller. And then my small one will need to be smaller than the medium one. Now I'm just going to do a check. You see that small one? Good, medium, good. It looks like I'm good to go. You're done with your pencil now. It's time for the red watercolor crayon. Now, do you remember this picture?
Let's take a look at the grapes in this picture. You will notice they kind of remind me of a cherry because they're round. And the shading is on the left-hand side, and so the left-hand side of each grape has a shadow.
So like those grapes in the picture, we are going to have some shading on the left-hand side of each cherry because my shading is on the left on the frosting and it's on the left on my cup. So it makes sense that it would be on the left of my cherry as well. So I'm going to use my red watercolor crayon, and I'm just going to trace the left-hand side. And like when I did my frosting shading, I am going to just do a couple of extra lines, give it a little extra thickness. We do not outline the whole cherry this time. We're just adding the shading on the left. So it's like I made a thick letter C. I'm going to do the same on the medium and on the small. Now you have a white oil pastel. Let's take another look at those grapes.
This time, I want you to notice the white spot on each of the cherries. You've got your shading on the left. That white spot is on the right, kind of at the top area. That is where the light is coming and shining on each grape. We call that white spot a highlight.
So we are going to use our white oil pastel to make a highlight on the right side of the cherry because we know the shadow is on the left because the light is coming from the right. And it's going to be just a little curve, kind of the opposite of a C. On the right hand side, kind of on the right hand up side. And of course, this is also large, a little bit smaller, and a little bit smaller. Now that I have the cherries drawn, the shading added, and the highlight, next comes the water. You'll want to pause and go get a water cup and a skinny brush, the exact same things that you used when we did the water to the when we added the water to the watercolor crayon in our shading. This time, same thing. We're just going to add the water here. That red crayon is going to start blending. You can, since it's small, you can just go ahead and spread it out over the whole cherry. Since the white oil pastel is there, then you know oil pastel does not get affected by water or watercolor. So I can just put the water right over the top of it. Now, you will need to show this to me, have it checked, and then go put it on the drying rack.
But wait, how could I forget? Before you bring this to me or put it on the drying rack, write your name. You can just write it somewhere on the front. That would be perfect. Go ahead, do it right now before you forget too.